You're listening to The Jay Barker Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
Indeed. The gang is all here on a Friday afternoon, and a good-looking one, too. Lars, Matt, Justin, and we've got great guests lined up for you today. Justin Fowler, the former Alabama fullback and NFL player. We miscommunicated yesterday, but today I'm quite certain he will be on in just a few minutes. And also, Stan White. He hadn't joined us in a while, but a former Auburn quarterback and member of the broadcast team. He retired this past season, but he's going to join us, and maybe he can straighten things out at quarterback. It appeared that it was, Lars. It appeared that it was going to be Peyton Thorne, and then maybe Hugh Freeze had a little bit of a drawback, and then I hear this morning on Jocks' morning show that Peyton's the guy. Where do you land on this?
I have only heard one thing, that it's Peyton Thorne.
Okay.
And, Hugh Freeze addressed the media and basically confirmed that. And he said something really interesting. He said that I believe Robbie Ashford, and this is the direct quote, I believe Robbie Ashford gives us an absolute better shot to win the game if he accepts this news, because he might be the most freakish athlete I've ever had at quarterback. The interesting phrase there is, if he accepts this news. Is it possible that obviously Robbie Ashford's got to be disappointed, right? He was Auburn's main quarterback last season. We know what a dynamic athlete he is. He ran for 109 yards and 7 touchdowns, but still he only completed 49.2% of his pass attempts. And Hugh Freeze did say yesterday that Ashford is going to have a package of plays in the offense. And so, as he should. But again, that phrase, if he accepts this news, just sort of caught my ear. And so maybe that is something just to keep an eye on. But I think Thorne really is the obvious answer, again, because in Hugh Freeze's attack, offensive attack, you have to be accurate. You need to know where to go with the ball. You need to make decisions really quick. You need to be able to diagnose the defense and understand what the defense is trying to do based on down and distance and where the ball is on the field. And just last year, Auburn had one of the worst passing offenses in the country, and Hugh Freeze, he went hard into the transfer portal to try to fix that. So now you're gonna have a new you're gonna have a Michigan State quarterback. You're gonna have a wide receiver from North Texas, Jair Shorter, a wide receiver from Jackson State, Shane Hooks, a wide receiver from Cincinnati, Nick Mardner, and a wide receiver from Ohio State, Caleb Burton. And then you're also going to have a tight end from FIU in Rivaldo Fairweather. And then you're also, to top it all off, you're going to have 3 offensive linemen that he got out of the transfer portal, right? So Hugh Freeze really has tried to remake this offense, and we'll see how successful that is. But I'm glad you brought this up at the top of the show, because this is the biggest story today in this state. And I know the news was broken yesterday, but I think Peyton Thorne is, again, he's battle tested. He was the starter at Michigan State for the last 2 seasons. He's thrown for in 2021. He threw for 3,200 yards, 27 touchdowns, 11 picks, and then last season threw for almost 2,700 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions as well. A little too high on the interceptions, but. He was at Michigan State through spring practice, and ultimately decided to transfer during that spring transfer window and committed to Auburn on May 5th. And so the other thing, he hasn't been on the Auburn campus that long.
No.
But this is I think it's a testament to his maturity. And again, he's played a lot of important football in big games and big stadiums. And I thought this was going to be the decision all along. And I think he and Robbie Ashford really could form a dynamic 1-2 punch, while you have Ashford still just sort of working on improving his throwing mechanics, his accuracy, his understanding of the offense. And then Ashford could be the guy next year. I mean, to me, this makes perfect sense. How about you, Matt?
Well, I got a lot of questions I might just kind of throw your way. First of all, I feel for Robbie Ashford. He's an Alabama guy, grew up, played at Hoover, transferred and played a little bit at Oregon. That didn't work out, so he and Bo swap, and he gets there and he makes progress, and then here comes Peyton Thorne, which, by the way, I think we all know that Sam Hartman had a lot to do with Tyler Buckner's decision to leave Notre Dame, come to Alabama. Why did Thorne come? I mean, he's a two-year starter coming back. Michigan State, not a bad team. Michigan State playing in a really, really good conference. I'll throw a question out there that I don't know the answer to. Why the heck did that guy transfer from the Spartans?
Well, that's a good question. I think he realized that he may have some serious competition at quarterback. I can't really get too deep into that.
I can't either, and that's why I feel bad throwing the question your way.
Yeah,
but there had to have been a reason. Did they sign a freshman that can really spin it? I need to do some research on that before I ask the question. But just getting back to that and Peyton Thorne being named the quarterback, I'm not surprised that it finally happened, to be very, very honest with you, for many reasons. You probably were too, Lars. I was pulling for Robbie Ashford. I think that his inability to be accurate, consistent, passing the football, because we all know when he's on target and the way he can throw the football, it's a thing of beauty. But he misses, and I think he makes mistakes and maybe even turns the ball over. But not surprised is Peyton Thorne going to see how all these transfers, and want to really get opinions from our listeners, from our guests. You just named potential starters at Auburn at every single position in offense. Except maybe running back, right?
Except running back and one offensive line or two offensive line positions.
How do you get that to mesh, Lars? Is football, and if you can run one offense, you can run them all. But the same thing could be asked for Deion, because I think he's got 12 new starters on both sides of the line. 11 new. Yeah.
Again, Auburn and Colorado are going to be just it's like almost like a scientific experiment. Like, can this work when you essentially form your team from the transfer portal? And I don't know. Like, how do you get the chemistry, and how do you just get everybody on the same page? And it's It's an interesting question. I think Peyton Thorne, by the way, in thinking about it, Michigan State doesn't have a ton of experience at quarterback, and it's sort of a wide open competition. I don't know if Mel Tucker has named a starter yet, but I think really it wasn't what he was leaving, it's what he was going to. Right? Michigan State is not going to win the Big Ten, just like Auburn's not going to win the SEC. But I think Peyton Thorne probably believes that he can develop into a potential pro prospect in a better way under Hugh Freeze than he could under Mel Tucker at Michigan State. And, we'll see.
Hugh Freeze may be the key here.
I think he is. I think this is all about Hugh Freeze. And we had Tim Brando on yesterday, and Tim called one or two of Michigan State's games, and he wasn't really effusive in his praise of Peyton Thorne. He was just like, that he's limited physically, but in Hugh Freeze's offense, you don't need a huge arm. I mean, remember and he mentioned Bo Wallace, right? Bo Wallace was able to go into Bryant Denny, I believe it was in Bryant Denny, and beat Alabama, and Chad Kelly was able to do that as well, and so we'll see. We'll see what happens there. This is something that I expected. And hopefully for Auburn fans and just college football fans, I hope Robbie Ashford takes this the right way and decides, hey, I'm just going to keep grinding, keep working, keep trying to get better, because he definitely could be the starter next year. Although the thing about Robbie Ashford is he's not Hugh Freeze's hand-picked guy. Right? Because Hugh Freeze is going to go out and try to recruit. I don't know if he's gotten one yet, but a quarterback for the future, so to speak. And I feel bad again for Robbie Ashford. He could be just sort of caught in a situation that isn't great for him.
It's got to be very disappointing. Let's break. Justin Fowler's next on Big Noon Sports.
Laura Lee Thompson is known as the Bama Broker. She's a Tuscaloosa native, an Alabama graduate, and the only realtor in town with Wall Street experience. A skilled negotiator, Laura Lee knows how to buy low and sell high. And the Bama Broker isn't just going to show you houses. No, Laura Lee is going to educate you on the market, guide you to homes that fit your budget, and teach you how to sell your home for its maximum profit. Throughout the entire process, the Bama Broker will equip you with the tools you need to both buy a home and build financial wealth through home ownership. Trust me, the Bama Broker, who's as roll-tide as houndstooth, will get you across the goal line. That's Laura Lee Thompson, the Bama Broker with Advantage Realty Group. You can reach her at 205-790-7229. Again, that's 205-790-7229. And you can also email her at lauralee@thebamabroker.com. That's Laura Lee at thebamabroker.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A sunny sky this afternoon. The high today at 92. Clear tonight, the low 68. Tomorrow, lots of sunshine, the high 94. And the weather stays dry on Sunday. The sky partly to mostly sunny. The high Sunday at 95. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 91 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
The best sports talk in Alabama. This is Big Noon Sports.
guest, fullback, University of Alabama in the NFL, Jawston Fowler. And I will let you know up front that Jawston, and I believe it's Marquise Mays, are going to be making personal appearance Saturday, September 9th from 2 to 4, Vintage Trading Post. And that will be in Dora, one of my favorite little towns in all of Alabama. Jawston, I don't know that you've ever met any of us in person, but we welcome you to the show. How's your Friday going?
Going pretty good. Glad to be with you guys today.
Appreciate. What do you do these days?
Yeah, I'm just working down on Mobile State Dock as a superintendent on the terminal side.
So you went to the Tide to the Bay, so to speak.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hey, tell us a little bit about this appearance you're going to be making.
We're just coming up. We're going to have a great time, man. I'll be having my memorabilia, have my rings, my jersey. People can come out, put the jersey down, put the rings on, just come and have a good time.
Jawston, it's Lars Anderson here. How did you get the nickname Nudie when you were at Alabama?
I've been had the nickname Nudie from when I was a baby. My dad told me when I was a baby, he was in the hospital, he just kept holding me saying, "This is my Nudie, baby." And it just stuck with me throughout my whole entire life.
I love that.
It's a great nickname.
Oh, yeah.
And what's your fondest memory of playing at the University of Alabama?
My most fondest memory is winning that Texas A&M game, walk-off home. Well, I feel like it's a walk-off home run, but the walk-off scoring touchdown when we do that little dump pass to me. I just thought that was the best thing ever because they had beat us the year before, and me, I was looking out for revenge, and I was just like, I didn't play that year because of injury. But other than that, I was happy to beat those guys.
Jawston, you're a big-time player coming out of a big-time high school program in the state, and that's Viger. Why did you decide Alabama, and how much did Nick Saban play a role in that?
Coach Saban played a pretty significant role in it. He told me, he recruited me. Actually, I was at the All-Star game practice, and I watched one of my guys play, and Coach Stevenson, it was my high school coach at the time, Coach Saban called him, and he was, I guess he was asking about me, and I heard Coach Stevenson say he's standing right here next to me. And next thing I know, Coach Stevenson had me on the phone, and like, Coach Saban said he's going to offer you a scholarship. And once I get on the phone with Coach Saban said, I don't want you talking to nobody, I don't want you going to visit nobody, we'll give you a scholarship. And when it came down to it, I had a lot of guys in my ear, like Florida State, Tennessee, you want to come here and start, or you want to go to Alabama ride the bench, because the backfield was loaded. You had Trent Richardson, Mark Ingram, you had Eddie Lacy, but the deciding factor was me and my mom. We sat down, and I think Jimbo was trying to come down and talk with me. Like the day after, me and my mom sat down, and I was just like, "Mom, what do you want me to do?" Because my mom was like one of my best friends at the time, and I love my mom to death. And I feel like whatever she said is gold. And she did like, "Jawston, Nudie, I want you to go to Alabama." And I said, "Yes, ma'am." That was it. That was the deciding factor.
What was Coach Saban's recruiting pitch to you? Because as you mentioned, you were coming into a situation where the backfield was absolutely loaded with NFL talent, and a lot of guys would shy away from that. But what was it that Nick Saban told you that really convinced you that Alabama was the place for you?
He really didn't convince me. It was just more me, like a pride thing. Like, I can show these guys and go and play with the big name guys. And that was my main thing. He always told me that I had to work my way up, like, because, you recruit the big name guys to come in and play. So some people, back then you didn't have the transfer portal, so you had to come in and train your butt off. So I went in there and trained my butt off for 3-4 years, and it all fell in place for me.
What are your thoughts on Alabama's addition for this upcoming season?
I think we'll be all right. I mean, I feel like once we get that quarterback situation situated, I think we'll be all right. I'm hearing good things about Melrose and Ty Sampson. And I know Coach Saban, he gonna pick the best guy for the team. And I feel like it's gonna be like a situation when it comes to Blake and when it came to Blake and Jay Coker. He let the guys decide what they wanted to start off with in the game, and he let both of the guys play, and they went from there. Blake skyrocketed, and I feel like it's gonna be the same way with those guys.
Charleston, you played fullback at Alabama, obviously, and in the NFL. Why do you think the fullback has almost become extinct in the college game and the pro game? And how are you able to succeed at a position, again, where we're just not seeing that many players or not many coaches even carry fullbacks on NFL teams?
Yeah, a lot of guys, we're being replaced with like tight ends, like the guy who can line up any and everywhere. Like you can put them on a line of scrimmage, you can put them in the backfield, you can spread them out. And as a fullback, if you're able to do those things, you're more likely to have a spot on the team. But why would I want you to just block for me? And that's the only thing you can do. You're not just going to give me a tight end and he can do everything that we actually need to do. And I think that's why the fullback position is dying out. And that's why I kind of feel like I was so valuable at Alabama, because you could spread me out. You could put me at fullback. You could put me on the line of scrimmage and block, learn the combo block, and stuff like that. So I feel like if a fullback can become more versatile and be more like a H-back, tight end type guy, he'll be more valuable to the team.
Hey, assess Alabama's running back room, because there's a lot of talent in it.
Sir?
Talk about Alabama's running backs.
Oh, man. I'm good with names, but I like two. I think it's McCullum.
Yeah, Jace
I think it's gonna be pretty good for us. I like number 5 too. I think his physicality can help us a lot. In short yardage situation, and I definitely like that freshman. He reminds me a lot of Trent. He can run hard, he can move, and I think we're gonna be pretty good at the running back position. I'm not worried about that.
You know, I do remember before the 2014 season, and Nick Saban was talking about you, and he was saying how you've matured and you've progressed from being a young guy that came in with a lot of ability, and now you've matured into a fine young man. You had graduated. You have big goals for yourself. You do things the right way. And then at the end of all this, Nick Saban said, and this is what really caught my ear, he said, that's what makes me believe the process works. It's guys like you, Charleston. So what was it? Like, was there anything in particular when you were at Alabama that just helped you along? Was it just, again, sort of abiding by Nick Saban's core principles, which, as we all know, is called the process?
Yeah, sure. It was that, and I didn't want to embarrass my family, so I try to live the right way and do the right thing. And Coach Saban always preached, do the right thing when nobody's watching. So I try to live by that motto. And like I said, I wanted my parents to be proud of me. I wanted my family to be proud of me. I was like one of the first guys from my family to go to college, so I didn't want to put a bad name out there and put the target on my back saying, this guy is bad to business, and you don't need to be around us and stuff like that. So I just wanted to make my family happy and do things the right way.
Charleston Fowler is our guest here on Big Noon Sports. What was your NFL experience like?
I mean, it was great. I mean, I did a lot of things to myself that could have been avoided, but now it was just a great learning experience for me. And I feel like it was a good process.
Is there a highlight that sticks out to you about your time in the NFL?
Not really. I just miss playing with my brother, Derrick Henry. Like, that's like one of my favorite people in the world, man. He showed me a good time. We showed each other a good time when he first came up. we hung out a lot, and when I came back for my second stint, he showed me a lot of love, let me stay with him. And like I said, there too many things stick out besides my first touchdown, which I should have kept the ball, but I didn't. I gave it back to the referee, and I should have kept it.
Yeah. Emmitt Smith kept every darn one of his.
I should have did the same thing.
Hey, good talking to you. Great stuff. And again, you will be in Dora, and I'll promote this on the other side of the break, but his appearance along with Marquise Mays, I think Mount Cody is on this list too, but that's further down the line. Justin, have a great day and enjoy your weekend.
You too, boss.
All right. Talk to you soon. Justin Fowler joining us on Big Noon Sports. When we get back, Lars, I think Missouri has done the exact opposite of what I thought might help with NIL. We'll talk about that on the other side of the break on Big Noon Sports.
Securing the best mortgage possible requires a lender who has knowledge, is trustworthy, and treats customers like family. And no one is better at all of this than the mortgage miracle worker, Haley Sansing. Based right here in Tuscaloosa, Haley Sansing has spent decades working in the mortgage industry. With Haley, it's personal, holding your hand from contract to close. With Haley, it's about one thing, you. Call Haley on her cell, yes, her cell, 205-792-1813. That's 205-792-1813. Let Haley help you.
NLMS number 230376.
Hey, this is Reagan, owner of R&R Cigars, the Cigar Mansion in downtown Tuscaloosa, located at 2703 6th Street across from the Home 2 Suites. Come down to R&R and see why we're the ultimate cigar and bourbon experience. With over 165 bourbons and 5 private barrels, our selection of bourbon is unmatched. We have the best cocktails around, and our cigar selection is legendary. Our lounge and service are world-class. Come and experience the luxury of the mansion and see why it's a world-renowned cigar and spirits destination.
365, 24/7. You'll find road and utility crews, tow trucks, law enforcement, and first responders working along Alabama's roadway.
We're making improvements and helping our communities stay connected.
We're working hard to make sure you're safe on the road. Now we need your help to make sure we're safe too.
Alabama's move over law requires you to move over a lane when you see flashing lights on the roadside. And if you can't safely move over, please slow down.
Visit DriveSafeAlabama.org. Brought to you by the Alabama Department of Transportation, Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this station.
From T-Town to the Plains, this is Alabama's most in-depth analysis on the SEC. This is Big Noon Sports.
Hey, thanks to Justin Fowler. He will be in Dora on September the 9th, and this will give you plenty of time to get to the stadium, catch the kickoff. But he will be at Vintage Trading Post 2 to 4 Saturday in Dora, and he will be accompanied by Marquise Mays. And Mount Cody is going to be in Birmingham about a month later. So we'll help you folks get to know those venues and times. And there, you can go drop by, see the memorabilia, get your picture taken, whatever you want to do. These guys are very open, and they understand the value of the fans. University of Alabama.
Matt, you teased a story coming or going into break about Missouri and what they're doing with NIL. I can tell you right now, Governor Mike Parson, I don't know if he's a Democrat or a Republican. I don't know how many years he has left in his term. But I can virtually guarantee you he's going to get reelected because of what he has done with NIL. Go ahead. I just wanted to set that up.
Well, I really don't know what the guidelines were going in, but you would think that once you signed an NIL deal, you could start receiving that money once you got on campus. But this bill, which was introduced, 6 months ago, And was it passed today or yesterday or something like that?
The governor signed it officially in July, and it was House Bill 417.
So anyway, if you say I want to come play football for Missouri, you can start receiving your NIL money up to 6 months before you get there. This is not what the NIL was all about. This is not at all. And in some respects, Lars, I can't believe they're doing it. I guess they're doing it because they're not going to have the monies to compete on the levels of the Alabama and the USCs of the world. But this is just wrong. So you can you can pay a quarterback $100,000 to go to his prom.
I think, as I understand this bill, it does two things. One, it allows coaches and school officials at Missouri colleges and universities to be more actively engaged with NIL negotiations. But here's what is the sort of crown jewel, if you are Governor Parsons of Missouri, of the bill is. It allows, if you're a high school recruit, if you're a high school football player or just an elite high school athlete in Missouri, now, if you decide to sign with an in-state college, and that's the key here, you have to sign with an in-state college. If you stay within the show me state, Missouri, you can begin earning compensation, NIL compensation, while you're in high school. So, it is. I agree with you. I don't think this is good at all for the game, but I have to credit Missouri for their ingenuity here. And there are now several states are rushing in. Several state legislatures are like, hey, wait a minute. And so all across the footprint of the Southeastern Conference, they're trying to catch up to Missouri. I know that Arkansas and Texas have similar NIL laws, but this is a big reason why I think that Missouri, we talked about this a little while ago, that they signed a 5-star, Williams Nwaneri.
Their second biggest sign in football history.
Yes, yeah. And so I don't know. This is why we need what we're always saying is guardrails, and we need uniformity. Again, but the easiest way to do it, or the most logical way, would be to have some sort of federal legislation. However, we know how Washington works, and there's just no way that that's going to happen in a timely fashion. So then how does this actually play out? I don't know. But look, it's just going to become one state after the next trying to make, their rules even looser than everyone else. Right? Because this is all about the money. Kids are not elite high school players for the most part. I think Jillian Sayin is different, and we've talked about that. But for the most part, elite high school players are going where the most money is.
Wouldn't you?
Yes. Absolutely. I mean, if it came down,
Texas is going to jump in on this, and it's going to just get crazy.
I would think. I don't know if Kay Ivy's awake. Maybe she'll jump into it as well.
And the thing about it is, and you made a perfect point a minute ago, is from what I've read, and that's my understanding of the law from state to federal. About the only thing that could stop this, unless Missouri just decided not to do it anymore, is federal legislation. And I don't see that coming around for another 2 or 3 years. So, or 2 at least. So factor that in. there'll be 50 other states that will have adopted this format, and then they'll have to undo it all. And then how do you do that? And grandfather in. What about the kids you've already committed to pay? Keep paying them after the federal law is in place? It's a mess, and this is not helping at all.
No. And you know that really smart people all across the country are looking at this, and they're trying to figure out, okay, what is the next step? What can we do to one-up what Missouri has just done? And I think that, the reason that it is kept to in-state players, right? So if you are an in-state player, a high school player, if you go to high school in Missouri and you are recruited and you accept a scholarship with one of the colleges in Missouri, most notably the University of Missouri, let's be honest here, you can start collecting NIL money when you are in college. And not only that, Missouri's coaches can help you get the deals. So
that's big.
And the reason I think it has to stay in state is because it's a state law. You can't necessarily cross state. You can't say, hey, anybody who comes to one of our colleges can get NIL money if you live in Louisiana or California, because that's just not how state laws work. So Governor Mike Parson, I think he just secured re-election, and all he'll have to do is point to the number of 5-star recruits that Missouri out of nowhere is suddenly getting. And I don't even know if it's Mike Parson, the governor of Missouri, who dreamed up this bill, but he's the one who signed it. And you know what, Matt? Guess who's taking credit for the bill? Governor Mike Parson.
Wow.
He and Eli Drinkowitz, man, they were just partying it up. I think it was at the state capitol, and actually he was partying up with the Missouri basketball coach Dennis Gates, and they were at the ceremonial signing of the bill.
Wow.
And so. But obviously, this has not been lost on any other state official. But
I don't know.
But don't you have to give them some credit for their innovation? As much as we don't like it,
it's one of those things that you go, I don't like it, but I wish I'd thought of it.
Exactly. Well put.
And I have a great question concerning this. I don't know if I've found a pothole in it or not, but it's worth discussing. You're listening to Big Noon Sports, presented by Haley Sansing, Union Home Mortgage. And is it my understanding the wonderful Laura Lee Thompson is going to make an appearance
Bama
today?
Broker is going to be in the house here at 1 o'clock. Laura Lee Thompson.
Yep. And Stan White will follow. Big Noon Sports. Be right back.
The Universal.
I can go from 0 to 60 way too fast.
Who knew electric vehicle owners were having so much fun?
20 or 30 years ago, I owned a gas sports car, and this car is much quicker.
It's a great, fun car to drive. When you put your foot on the accelerator, it just goes.
They're fun, they're fast, they're efficient.
Visit driveelectricalabama.com to learn how you can start having fun driving an electric vehicle.
Sponsored by the Alabama Clean Fuels Coalition, the ABA, and this station.
Are you receiving unemployment? Your benefits could be at risk. Here's how you can protect yourself and your benefits. Never respond to mail notifying you of a false claim in your name. Never answer a text message asking you to verify your account. And only respond to official Alabama Department of Labor's social media pages. Report fraud at labor.alabama.gov/fraud. Brought to you by the Alabama Department of Labor, ABA, and the station. The Alabama Department of Labor is an equal opportunity employer program. Auxiliary aids and services available upon request to individuals with disabilities. Dial 711 for TTY accessibility.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A sunny sky this afternoon. The high today at 92. Clear tonight, the low 68. Tomorrow, lots of sunshine, the high 94. And the weather stays dry on Sunday. The sky partly to mostly sunny. The high Sunday at 95. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 91 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
From T-Town to the Plains, this is Alabama's most in-depth analysis on the SEC. This is Big Noon Sports.
Indeed. Thank you for joining us. We're talking about Missouri. It is now state law where the coaches and staff members can go out and approach high schoolers, and if they agree to go to Missouri, then they can start receiving their NIL money before they finish high school. And if you're Missouri, it's a great idea. It maybe gives you a competitive advantage with the A&Ms of the world. But it's our job to kind of start thinking of holes in this. First of all, if your guy gets injured, and it's been known to happen, the guy will get injured and suddenly that scholarship goes away. Does the NIL go with it? But the bigger questions are these. And what if the player has received, let's just say $50,000 in NIL money, and he decides he doesn't want to go to Missouri? Is he legally bound to do that? Does he pay the money back? And what if this particular player, under pay from the NIL at Missouri, what if they do something wrong? Unlawful. Is Missouri responsible? I mean, he's technically an employee. I'm sure the way things go in our society today, both of these will be addressed and quite quickly. But what do you do, Lars, if can the player change his mind, or is he locked in for life to a Missouri college team?
I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think that he's locked in.
Does he pay the money back?
Well, remember Quinn Ewers went to Ohio State for 1 year and got $1 million to do that, and then got the heck out of Dodge and transferred to Texas, where he's now the starting quarterback and probably making more than $1 million. I don't know what his NIL money is, but I don't know. All that is sort of got to be in the fine print of the bill that was passed in Missouri, and but Matt, it's a mess. This whole thing's a mess.
And it's messy.
And as much as we applaud Governor Parson of Missouri for the ingenuity, or whoever crafted this bill, whoever came up with the idea, it is all it's going to do is force the hand of other schools, especially in the SEC. And think about there is not a ton of high school elite talent in Missouri. There's some, right, but not a ton. Think about if I know Texas has something similar, but not quite as strong. But even if in Alabama, what if either Auburn or Alabama? What if every single 4- and 5-star player in high school stayed in the state of Alabama? What would that do to both Auburn and Alabama, right? Because there are many stories of Alabama high school players going to different schools, going to Georgia. And I don't know, I was just thinking, do you know an Alabama high school player off the top of your head, like a famous one who ended up leaving the state and going to another school out of state and having tremendous success?
Well, yeah, a couple have gone to Nebraska.
But
that was success at the college
hasn't worked
level.
out so well.
That's a great question, and one I think Condridge Holloway.
I can't think of a specific name, but I know LSU has stolen some Alabama guy, or Jameis Winston, right?
Yeah, Jameis Winston. There you go. Good job. What if Jameis Winston could have got like $1 million? Well, he actually might have gotten $1 million to go to Florida State, but that was a joke. That was a joke. That was a joke.
So was that. And now is recruiting come to the point, and maybe it has been, and I've just not been very observant. Does the coach just come in and say, what's the number? What's the highest number? I'll top it.
Yeah.
Instead of at least going through the motions of, hey, we run this offense. We've got this coach. Would you come look at our campus? By the way, we've got a great med school. Or is it like I just said, Lars? Does the mother and the dad and the player just sit there at the dinner table and they say, well, Florida offered me 95. Okay, we'll offer you 100. Is that just the way recruiting is going to be from now on?
It's possible. Yeah. Everybody's got an uncle, right, who can do hold almost like an auction in
do the finances
in back rooms and see who is willing to pony up the most money, especially if you get coaches and staff involved, right? And because they're the ones that really can figure out, hey, this is how much we can pay you. And that's what this bill, this law in Missouri, which has recently been signed again by Governor Mike Parson, it allows the coaches to have a much more active role in soliciting NIL money for not just the players on their roster currently, but also players who are in high school, and as long as they are in a high school in Missouri. And Missouri, I think, just closed the borders on nobody's going into Missouri anymore to get 5-star players, as Williams Nwarzi. I am so bad with pronouncing names, but it's Nwaneri. Nwarni. He's, again, what did we say? The first 5-star since Dorial Green Beckham.
Yeah.
DGB, my guy, who I, as I mentioned yesterday or the day before, that wrote a long story on Dorial when he was just coming out of Missouri and going into the NFL, and it didn't work out for him in the NFL, but he was a former 5-star, and this is this kid is the second 5-star since, or the first 5-star since then. This is a big story, and again, it just increases the sense of urgency, I think, to have uniform guidelines.
Absolutely.
And the uniform guidelines are not going to be coming from Washington, D.C. Like I've said this so many times that, and this is not breaking news, the Congress is a reactive body, not a proactive body. Like something really, dramatic has to happen, and then Congress typically responds. And with Tommy Tuberville leading the way on this NIL legislation, I don't even know how many people in Alabama are real happy with him right now. But I don't know, Matt. This is.
Let's bring Justin Jones in for just a second, because I just got a text from him. Justin, give us an update on the U.S. Amateur Golf Tournament.
Yeah, it's coming down to the wire here. Nick Dunlap they're tied through 16 holes. He got off to a slow start. Gave 2 holes up on his competitor. Let me slide up here real quick.
Is this the quarterfinal?
This is the quarterfinal. So, if he can get through this, he's got one more match in his way before getting to the finals. Interesting fact too: if Nick Dunlap can do it and get through to the end and possibly win the U.S. Amateur, the only other player to have won the U.S. Junior Am and the U.S. Amateur is Tiger Woods. He would join some rare air if he can.
Yeah, I think Nick Dunlap, and again, we had Cannon Claycomb on yesterday, who is, this past season, he had been Alabama's sort of number 1 golfer. and he was just going on and on and on about how good this kid is. And Matt, I saw that on his Twitter feed. He said something to the effect of, "I love to be hated," or "I love to be the villain." Like, I want to be the villain. Like, so he's a cutthroat competitor, you know. And when you're playing match, okay, you're a big golfer like I am, and Justin, have you ever gone just one-on-one in a serious situation, and it's almost more mental than physical?
Oh yeah, it's definitely more mental. It's definitely more mental. I think I can remember playing in high school. I might have lost the round already. I remember we had a very nice high school down the road from us. We had a golfer who was committed to the Florida Gators.
Yeah.
And I was the number one guy on my team, but I was not committed to a D1 school. And I lost that round before I even stepped on the course because I knew I was playing him. So, yeah, definitely.
Did you get any offers to play at, like, D2 schools?
I didn't really pursue it. I started playing very late. I started playing my sophomore year of high school, and I worked my butt off to.
You got to be the top golfer at your school, and you didn't start till you're a sophomore?
Yeah.
Holy cow!
Must be a pretty natural.
Yeah, you had some game, man.
I hit the driving range a lot. That's really what it was.
You must have hit it all.
I'm already teaching my 8-year-old. Like, he's out there grinding.
I saw the video you posted on Twitter a while back.
Did you see his swing?
You might have something on your hands there, Lars.
I had several people who cover golf and play golf for a living comment on Lincoln's swing, and it's there's a few little things to iron out, but man, he has got it, and also, at least right now, and I'm not going to push him. Well, I'll push him a little bit, but he's obsessed with golf. He wants to play every single day, and that's what it takes, man. I mean, if you want to be good at golf, the only way, like any sport, you just gotta really want it and be willing to practice. And the thing is, Lincoln and I will go out, and sometimes he doesn't even want to play. He's like, let's just practice. And
wow,
we'll spend.
Don't hear that much.
No, and we'll spend an hour and a half just hitting out of the sand. I mean, God, he's already better out of the sand than I am.
Well, hey, good stuff. Good first hour. Is Laura Lee there yet?
Laura Lee's here.
All right, Laura Lee. We'll talk to you on the other side of this break. And when we get out at halftime, you're listening to Big Noon Sports.
Babe,
apply. Hey, this is Reagan, owner of R&R Cigars, the Cigar Mansion in downtown Tuscaloosa, located at 2703 6th Street across from the Home 2 Suites. Come down to R&R and see why we're the ultimate cigar and bourbon experience. With over 165 bourbons and 5 private barrels, our selection of bourbon is unmatched. We have the best cocktails around, and our cigar selection is legendary. Our lounge and service are world-class. Come and experience the luxury of the mansion and see why it's a world-renowned cigar and spirits destination.
A Town Square Media Station. WTUG HD2 Northport. And W265CG Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9. And streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
More Big Noon Sports coming up.
In fact, it's coming up now. Matt Coulter, Lars Anderson. Our producer is Justin Jones. A lot of topics to talk about, but a special one right now with one of our largest sponsors, Laura Lee. Laura Lee, it's Matt. How are you? I'm sorry I'm not in the studio today.
Well, I'm sorry I don't get to see your smiling face.
If I'd have known all of this, because there's several things I needed to do in Tuscaloosa, I would have been there. But that's my bad on my end. So, good. Have you been okay? Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. We're ready. I'm ready to go to the scrimmage tomorrow.
Are you heading over there?
Yes.
Did you go to the first scrimmage?
No.
No? What
Why
did
do
you
you
what
get
did
to
you
go and we don't?
Yeah, how do you get access to that?
Red Elephant Club. Crimson Tide Foundation.
Can you be our reporter and come on the show on Monday and tell us exactly what you saw?
Yeah, we're not allowed to do that.
Do you like have to sign your life away saying that you won't do that, or is it just an honor thing?
It's an honor thing. So,
but a lot of people don't really honor that.
Well, I mean, we can talk about it a little bit, but there's no video, there's no texting, there's no, tweeting or Xing or whatever you call it now.
Yeah, I know. I don't even know either.
No pictures, nothing like that, no recordings.
What if you secretly try to record something? And,
I can't do that.
No, not you, but I'm just saying, I know you wouldn't. But if someone who was there did, would they be escorted out and never allowed to come back?
That's correct.
Have you seen that happen?
Take your season tickets, too.
Well,
they're not going to mess with that.
Well,
really?
I don't know about
us.
that. But if you're in Red Elephant Club and we see you doing that, you're out. So it's just not... The coach says no, so no, you don't do it.
And how many people typically attend these?
Well, they're, like I said, Crimson Tide Foundation. They have theirs, and Nick's Kids, and A Club, and, of course, Red Elephant Club from not just us, all the Red Elephant Clubs are invited in. So it's a small number as opposed to the number of seats. So, it's always fun. It's our kickoff event for Red Elephant Club every year. And so I'm excited to go. I'm excited to see some football.
Yeah.
All right, I have to ask one more question here. This is a great dive, and I appreciate Laura Lee. I know we came on to talk about your business, and we'll do that. But where do you sit?
We're in the north zone.
That's what I thought. Food and beverage and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And,
yes.
Because sitting outside Saturday afternoon,
I mean,
not going to be a whole lot different a week from then.
Exactly. So, yes, I'll sit outside in the sun. You just get prepared. See, in the regular games, I sit in Champions Plaza, and so I'm covered. So at least I don't have to sit in the sun for the games. But, I'll sit out there and sweat.
Who do you think is going to be Alabama's starting quarterback?
Milroe, I think is going to start.
I've been Ty Simpson for a long time, but now I'm leaning toward Milroe.
Yeah, I mean, that guy's a stud.
Yeah.
And we're going to be running the ball. I think that with he's just so athletic that I think he's going to get the nod. That doesn't mean that he gets, I think they're going to play probably all three for the first game.
Yeah.
Get them some game experience.
So, all right, what is going on in the real estate market right now? I know that interest rates just are at, I think,
Through the roof.
7.09, highest in, 20-some years?
Yes.
So has that had a little bit of an impact on your...
It's a big impact.
Yeah.
It's a big impact because when you're looking at some of the buyers, especially on the lower end of the spectrum, they're just priced out of the market. And the housing prices are still, we've got low supply, so it's the same old story. But with interest rates continuing to creep up, then that puts them out of the market. And it looks like it's not going to be as temporary as originally thought by all the talking heads. It looks like these rates are going to stick around.
Can you get access to houses that are about ready to come on to the market before, say, they show up on Zillow? Does that make sense?
Yes. But we don't talk about the Z word.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to
Let's not
remember
give
that
them
forever.
any press.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You know, I always say the A in Zillow is for accuracy.
That's funny too. The Z word, and all right. Lars and I are writing all this stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. But you would have access, like if say.
Well, first of all, MLS feeds into those that you see online. So the easiest place to do it, of course, I have my website at thebamabroker.com, and you can come onto my website and be there and not be harassed by 20 different agents that Zillow or Realtor.com is going to sell your information to when you want to learn about a property. Having said that, it depends on how often they update. So the local, or like on my website, is going to update a lot more quickly. It's going to be in real time.
Tell us again your philosophy when you bring in, take on a new client, and just how you want to educate them on the market, and you want to really just, be with them throughout the entire process.
Well, of course, the very first step when you come in and do a buyer's consultation with me, we're going to talk about the market. We're going to be educated on the paperwork and everything that's involved in the home buying process. And if you don't have a lender, I'm going to get you with a lender right away, because that does determine your price range. And if we don't know what your price range is, how can we find you a house? It makes absolutely no sense to, even though you're looking at, I pay $1,500 in rent so I can afford this amount in a mortgage payment. Well, that's wonderful, but that's not how it works. So we have to get you with a lender to find out what your range actually is, and then search in that range. And in today's market with the rising rates, if you're not locked in, we have to leave some room at the top for those rates to go up, because right now the market, like I said, we're not expecting it to come down as quickly as we originally thought. And the Fed may raise the rates again, and that's indirect to the mortgage, because it's loosely based on the 10-year Treasury, which has been wild this week. Nobody wants to give quotes out this week. It's going to settle down. But when you look at rates a year ago, we're at 5%, and right now we're over 7%. That's tough for buyers out there, and sellers for that matter. The sellers want to stay where they are until rates come down a little bit, which they will. So cash is king.
Larley Thompson, the Bama broker from Advantage Realty Group, is our guest here on Big Noon Sports. I read this morning where the University of Alabama's enrollment will be its largest in the school's history this fall. That doesn't surprise me. And this wasn't common when I was around at Alabama, where parents would buy condos. They got 2 or 3 kids coming in at the same time. It's an investment. It's a great idea. Can you give greater insight on how buying, as opposed to renting that racky-tack 2.5 bedroom house that I had over there on 13th, there's a way to go now and also purchase for your future?
Well, buying condos or even a little house, it depends. It doesn't have to be close to campus, but the condos, all you have to do is walk around and look at how many condos we have. I mean, they are everywhere, and that's because they're very popular. They're good investments for the parents who have not just one child, but 2 or 3 that are going to be coming through. It even works for one, because when you have, our rents are high. We're a college town. So rent is high. And having, buying that condo where you have an asset that you can turn around and sell, it's a very, very good idea. We do have quite a few condos on the market, townhouses, lots of different price ranges. So it looks better now than it did in May when there was practically no condos. So that's good.
Yeah.
With the limited inventory of houses that exist right now, is there one type of house that you're seeing that actually there is not an abundance, but opportunity to maybe check out a bunch of different ones? Is there like a price range?
Not really. We have houses here in all different price ranges. There are a few in each of the price ranges. We are seeing houses, days on the market, a little bit longer, but you're still looking at an average of about 18 days on the market. So you have to think about a year ago, houses were flying off in hours, days.
Jeez.
And
were people having to go over asking price?
Some of the really good ones we're still seeing the multiple offers, but some that may not be updated or might need a little bit of work, not quite what we would call move-in ready, might sit a little bit longer. But I've showed some really nice houses that have been on the market a while, and it really is coming down to those interest rates.
What about, I always ask you about this because I'm kind of interested, lake houses. Is it a good time to buy a lake house, generally speaking, at the end of summer? Is that when you're going to find the best value?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
There goes my theory.
I know about those lake houses. So really, especially here, and it depends on the lake houses. The prices vary. If you're on a slough, it's going to be a little bit lower than wide open. And once again, it comes down to what type of house and how much money you have. There are plenty of $1 million houses on the market on the lake. However, when you get down to a certain price range, there are very few, and if you think you're going to buy something for like $400,000, find it for me.
You know what? I've been looking around at Smith Lake. I used to have a place at Smith, sold it, and now want to go back. And there is just nothing like under 600, basically.
Right. It's tough.
It is tough.
And here, too.
Well, I really thought everything would come down at the end of summer.
No. It's supply. It's basic economics. Did you take that in school?
I didn't.
I didn't think you did.
Wow. Okay. Thank you, Laura Lee.
Well, you're in journalism.
I'm kidding. I don't understand numbers at all.
Exactly. So that is Econ 101, supply and demand. So prices, if they come down, it's only going to be a little bit. It's not going to be a lot.
Justin, you're a younger guy. Are you looking to become a home buyer?
Not currently. I'm not. But in the future, for sure. And I know who to go to for it.
Well, thank you.
The Bama broker. Yeah. Are you seeing among your clients? Do you have many who are first-time home buyers right now and looking around?
Some, but it's just a tough time for first-time home buyers that are not within a certain price range.
And gosh, where are there any deals to be had right now?
No deals. There are no deals. There have not been any deals for several years. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't find what you want. It just means that it may take a little while, and you have to adjust your thinking of what your price range is.
Tough times right now to buy a house.
Well, that's why you need Laura Lee, too.
That's right.
Because she can help through the troubling times as well as the profitable ones. How do folks get in touch with you? You mentioned your website. I know you have Advantage Realty Group too. If somebody's interested in listening to Big Noon Sports right now, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, you can always call my cell at 205-790-7229. You can reach out to me on my website at thebamabroker.com. And if you could also email me at lauralee@thebamabroker.com. But that's right. Lee, Leigh.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that spelling because my daughter's the same way. All right. Well, we will not list you as a source, but I expect to call Monday morning and tell me who's going to be the quarterback.
I'll give you my insight.
All right. Thanks, Laura Lee.
Thank you so much for coming by.
Thanks,
really,
y'all.
Indeed. All right, Lars, I guess we finally have to bring it up. Actually, want to bring it up.
Well, hold on. Did you take economics in college?
I took Econ 101 when I was a freshman.
Okay.
Because Jack O'Rear was sitting behind me, and I thought I was big time because the Alabama quarterback was sitting right behind me. Anyway, I
didn't take it because I had to protect my GPA. I don't know how I got that requirement out of the way, but it was just too intimidating for me.
Well, there are some levels and some courses you have to take, no matter, even when outside of your major. I had to do that too. But, you get through it and you graduate, and then you get on Big Noon Sports, brought to you by Laura Lee Thompson, the Bama Broker, the Advantage Realty Group. We'll be right back.
Laura Lee Thompson is known as the Bama Broker. She's a Tuscaloosa native, an Alabama graduate, and the only realtor in town with Wall Street experience. A skilled negotiator, Laura Lee knows how to buy low and sell high. And the Bama Broker isn't just going to show you houses. No, Laura Lee is going to educate you on the market, guide you to homes that fit your budget, and teach you how to sell your home for its maximum profit. Throughout the entire process, the Bama Broker will equip you with the tools you need to both buy a home and build financial wealth through home ownership. Trust me, the Bama Broker, who's as roll-tide as houndstooth, will get you across the goal line. That's Laura Lee Thompson, the Bama Broker with Advantage Realty Group. You can reach her at 205-790-7229. Again, that's 205-790-7229. And you can also email her at lauralee@thebamabroker.com. That's lauralee@thebamabroker.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A sunny sky this afternoon. The high today at 92. Clear tonight, the low 68. Tomorrow, lots of sunshine, the high 94. And the weather stays dry on Sunday. The sky partly to mostly sunny. The high Sunday at 95. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 92 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
From T-Town to the Plains, this is Alabama's most in-depth analysis on the SEC. This is Big Noon Sports.
Thanks for joining us. Stan White will be with us in a few minutes. We appreciate him joining us. He can talk some quarterbacks at the college level. He started he started 4 straight years at quarterback at Auburn. I don't know that there's many others that can make that claim in the history of the game. But anyway, Lars, just not a deep dive because unlike yesterday, we haven't seen 17 different stories about realignment in conferences. At least I haven't. But one thing is for certain, Stanford wants in the ACC.
Yes, that is pretty cool, or pretty clear.
Yeah.
Laura Lee's got me flustered here, giving me a hard time about not taking Econ 101. But yeah, I think that I think both Stanford and Cal, like after reading different stories, and hearing other people discuss this, I think Stanford and Cal are actually going to end up in the ACC. I really do.
Well, they've got to get another vote from either North Carolina State, Clemson, or Florida State. It just doesn't make sense to me geographically. And I took Geographics 101, geography. Well, maybe I didn't. I was failing English at the time, anyway. But the geographics and the money of that just don't make sense to me. But I guess it does. And these schools and these conferences have the money because some of them will have to make financial concessions just to get into that league. You know, I joked earlier this week, about this new Pac-18 or whatever that was going to include UAB, and it would have Wazoo and all this kind of stuff, Cal and Stanford. And I don't think maybe it does happen. I don't know. But the more I think about it, I really like the idea of perhaps taking what's left, very little, of the Pac-10, Pac-12, now Pac-4, and mixing it up with some of the more elite teams of the Mountain West. And, you know, having a new old Pac-12. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yes. And I know that Stanford, gosh, you know, they have just been behind the 8 ball when it comes to conference realignment. They have just been left out because this is all about football money, right? And their program has been down recently. But Stanford, according to a report that came out yesterday, that they informed the remaining Pac-4 schools that the level of their desperation to go to the ACC is so great that they are basically willing to join the conference for free, literally for free. And the AP sources said that leaders from Stanford and the other 3 schools still left in the Pac-4 that they spoke on Thursday. And with the Stanford saying that they would leave again for a significantly discounted portion of the ACC's media rights fees. Now, would that be enough to get a team or to get a school like Florida State to switch their mind, right? Because Stanford just needs one more vote, and they're essentially in. And I think Cal would come with them. Maybe the bigger question is, though, is that good for the ACC, right? Because if it's just Stanford and Cal, it's just so lopsided geographically. I mean, does that really matter that you have 2 teams out of how many teams are in the ACC right now? Was it 12, 14, 12. Something like that?
It's hard. It literally, and
it's hard to keep up with.
It is very hard to keep up with. You make a very good point on the finances of this, because while not receiving money, Stanford is paying to get into this conference.
Yeah,
as you said, that's how bad they want it, and I abhor that idea.
And the thing is, like, so Stanford right now, they would accept like a terrible, terrible financial arrangement in order to get into the ACC. Now, why would they be willing to do that? Why would they be willing to sacrifice tens of millions of dollars per year? Well, it's because Stanford, their endowment is as big as any school in the country, I believe. I mean, they are just sitting on a mountain of money. And so I think they are willing to take a harder financial hit in the future than basically any other school in the country. And the thing is, Cal, Washington State, and Oregon, they can't do that. But Stanford can. And so maybe, who knows? Would it be just Stanford going to the ACC because they would be willing to accept a horrible, horrible deal because they just don't want to be sitting there in the Pac-4? Who knows?
I don't. I can barely keep up with it.
But then, so every other school in the ACC is on the East Coast, right? Eastern time zone. And then you got Stanford. Think about how the travel for Stanford athletes, if they were in the ACC.
Even the Big Ten would be more understandable.
Yeah.
But evidently the Big Ten wants no part of Stanford or Cal. You know, I think I would take a long, hard look at Stanford because of what you just said, because of their reputation. And you talked about this earlier in the week. They have the most successful athletic program in America.
Yes, yeah.
They win the national award every year, even when their team is finishing 8th in the league.
The problem is that the reason that we can say that is because of their success in non-revenue generating sports.
Right.
Yes, Stanford produces more Olympic athletes than any other school in the country because of their swim teams and their volleyball, and you can go on and on and on down the list. But their football team just doesn't generate the money. And so would Stanford really be willing to do this? I mean, the Associated Press, who you and I both trust, I mean, the AP rarely gets stuff wrong. Rarely gets stuff wrong. And they are the ones that's saying that Stanford has informed the other Pac-4 schools that they would be willing to leave and go to the ACC basically for free. And if you're the ACC, how do you turn that down?
Well, I don't know. Look up the cost of airline flights. From Clemson, South Carolina to Stanford.
Oh gosh. Well, I guess you got to go. Everything goes through Atlanta. I've told you that I've spent so much time connecting through Atlanta that after I die, I'm pretty sure my soul is going through Atlanta. And that's where judgment will be rendered if I go up or down. It will be in the Atlanta airport.
So you're either going to heaven or
hell.
You have to go through hell. You have to go through Atlanta to go to hell?
Or heaven.
Oh.
No, probably hell.
Either way. Speaking of the Atlanta airport, I got a kind of interesting story about waiting there for hours because of an SEC football fan.
Hold on, Justin, you were going to add something about Atlanta airport.
I was just going to say, you're making it sounds like a very good blues song, going through Atlanta.
We're country music. If I like country, but maybe I could write a poem about it.
There you go, John Keith. We'll be back with more Big Noon Sports presented by Haley Sansing, Union Home Mortgage.
Hey, this is Reagan, owner of R&R Cigars, the Cigar Mansion in downtown Tuscaloosa, located at 2703 6th Street across from the Home 2 Suites. Come down to R&R and see why we're the ultimate cigar and bourbon experience. With over 165 bourbons and 5 private barrels, our selection of bourbon is unmatched. We have the best cocktails around and our cigar selection is legendary. Our lounge and service are world class. Come and experience the luxury of the mansion and see why it's a world-renowned cigar and spirits destination.
Securing the best mortgage possible requires a lender who has knowledge, is trustworthy, and treats customers like family. And no one is better at all of this than the mortgage miracle worker, Haley Sansing. Based right here in Tuscaloosa, Haley Sansing has spent decades working in the mortgage industry. With Haley, it's personal, holding your hand from contract to close. With Haley, it's about one thing, you. Call Haley on her cell, yes, her cell, 205-792-1813. That's 205-792-1813. Let Haley help you.
NLMS number 230376.
Work is a part of all of us. Working drives us to push beyond what we thought was imaginable and allows us to come together again for the things that really matter. That's why the Alabama Department of Labor and the Alabama Career Center system is here to help you discover bigger opportunities than ever before. Visit your local career center or alabamaworks.alabama.gov. Funding provided by the USDOL, PTA, and Federal WIOA, an Equal Opportunity Employer Program. Auxiliary aids and services available upon request. Brought to you by this station and the Alabama Broadcasters Association.
This is the Big Noon Sports Network.
Back on a Friday with Big Noon Sports. Matt, Justin, Lars. Stan White be with us in a few minutes. I teased the story, and now I feel compelled to deliver it. I will keep it in a capsule. But right after 9/11, we were flying to Houston to do a UAB Houston basketball game when they were in the same conference, and, man, it was just outstanding. But we had to fly through Atlanta. Why else, you know? And we left, I don't know, Birmingham around 2. You get to Atlanta in about 28 minutes. We get there, and all of a sudden, all this commotion. The next thing we knew, everybody in the airport had to go outside and stand on the top of these parking decks and under the decks and everywhere. And we thought that, wow, this is crazy. But we ended up staying in the Atlanta airport 14 hours while security combed everything and took every single precaution necessary, all because, I hope I'm getting the teams right here. I'm pretty sure since it was Atlanta. A Georgia fan was going to see the Georgia Ole Miss game in Oxford. He had forgotten his video cam, and he didn't have much time, so he went up the down escalator, causing a huge ruckus, and then he tried to fly back to get in line to catch his flight, and he had forgotten. He'd forgot his kid, for goodness sakes, or left his kid at the gate. But anyway, he disrupted everything, and it was right after 9/11. So we got to Houston at 4:30 the next morning.
Wow.
I don't know that that's very interesting, but
yeah.
I have
talked about Atlanta.
Some news here, guys, coming from the U.S. Amateur up in Colorado. Nick Dunlap was tied through 18, goes to the first playoff hole, and birdies to move on to the next round in the U.S.
Wow. Pressure. He delivers. We're going to hear a lot about Nick Dunlap here at Alabama, and when we were speaking to Cannon Claycomb yesterday, he said, "Hey, we're gunning for the national championship," and I mean this golf team is going to be fun to watch at Alabama. I mean, because I think at minimum they have 2 PGA players on the team in Cannon and Nick. And this is wow. So now he's on to the semifinals. And do we know who he's going to play in the semis? Sorry, Matt and I have this thing where we try not to ask questions that we don't even know the answers to.
Well, that would be hard to know given where you are right now, where I am, what we're doing a live show, and it just happened. So
the other 2 players that are in the quarterfinals are also going to extra holes, and that hasn't been decided just yet.
Okay.
Man, that's some high pressure golf for 20-year-old guys. But
gosh,
have you found
the first hole in match play? Gosh, that is.
What did he start? What was his position on the grid?
Oh, he was the last one, right?
Yeah. So, like Cannon explained to us yesterday, they play just stroke play, and then it's seeded by the rankings on stroke play. And Nick Dunlap was 41 in stroke play. He was playing. He started off against Gordon Sargent, who's with number one player,
right? Yeah.
And he was playing against the number 32 in this matchup today.
Wow.
Well, he has moved his way up. Sargent was the highest finishing amateur at the Masters, wasn't he?
Nah, maybe.
That was the Texas A&M golfer, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
At the Masters. Sargent finished well in the PGA, I think. One of them. I think
Yeah,
you're right, Matt.
yeah.
But at the Masters, I believe it was the Texas A&M golfer.
Yeah.
Wow.
Matt, did you see this story? And I know we got to get to break here in a second, so we have as much time as possible with Stan White. That Pat Fitzgerald, the former Northwestern coach who was fired because of the hazing accusations and allegations, he is going to serve as a parent volunteer for the football program at Loyola Academy, which is a high school in the Chicago suburbs that both of his sons attend. And, remember when we were talking to Matt Finkus earlier this week, and Matt was just really he knows Pat Fitzgerald. He played against Pat Fitzgerald,
right?
And he just didn't understand what was going on there. And by all accounts, and I've never talked to Pat Fitzgerald, but by all accounts, he really has a good reputation.
Yeah. Really, it's better than good.
Yeah.
In fact, the only thing I've ever heard negative about him is this particular incident.
Yeah. And it just feels like there's some CYA going on at Northwestern. Because remember, the president of the school on Friday was like, we're just going to give him a slap on the wrist. And then, because of pressure that mounted over that weekend, he fires him on Monday. I'm still surprised, by the way, that the Northwestern president still has a job. But I don't know. Something about this story at Northwestern, it seems off, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot like the Tui Michael Oher story. There's something we don't know, There's got to be something we don't know. I don't know. It's not really up to me to judge. But then again, I guess it is on what Pat Fitzpatrick wants to do. But I think I would just stay down. I don't know if I would go get visible. And even if it's your sons and even if it's a voluntary thing, you got lawsuits hanging all over you and all over Northwestern. It might be best to just go sit by the lake.
I agree. But then again, like, one of his sons is a freshman, the other one's a junior, and you know better than I how fast it all goes with your kids. Yeah. And this is a great way for him to spend, perhaps in retrospect, right, or down the road, he will look at being fired by Northwestern as a blessing because he got to spend time with his kids. I know that's probably a stretch, but
that's what I would do, though.
You can't get this time back.
No, that's spend as much as you possibly can. And coaches on every level, particularly at the college level, are gone all the time, especially now. Hey, when we get back, we'll talk with Stan White, former Auburn quarterback and broadcaster on Big Noon Sports.
Under the biggest keg
today. Hey, this is Reagan, owner of R&R Cigars, the Cigar Mansion in downtown Tuscaloosa, located at 2703 6th Street across from the Home 2 Suites. Come down to R&R and see why we're the ultimate cigar and bourbon experience. With over 165 bourbons and 5 private barrels, our selection of bourbon is unmatched. We have the best cocktails around and our cigar selection is legendary. Our lounge and service are world class. Come and experience the luxury of the mansion and see why it's a world-renowned cigar and spirits destination.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A sunny sky this afternoon. The high today at 92. Clear tonight, the low 68. Tomorrow, lots of sunshine, the high 94. And the weather stays dry on Sunday. The sky partly to mostly sunny. The high Sunday at 95. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 93 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Covering SEC sports like kudzu on the roadside. This is Big Noon Sports.
On a Friday afternoon, and the heat's back up. It was nice for a couple of days. We got down in the 80s. Headed back to the 90s with the humidity and all that. We talk about it, but there's not a thing we can do about it. You live in Alabama, that's what you expect. Join us on Big Noon Sports is former Auburn quarterback and broadcaster Stan White. Stan, how you doing? Do you play golf when it gets this hot?
You know, I played golf for the first time, true story, about 2 weeks ago. A guy, I helped coach up with John Carroll, and the head coach had a birthday, and we went and played golf and it was the first time I played golf since August of 2019, believe it or not. And I love golf. I do.
You're pretty good at it. I've played with you.
I never. Well, you know, I used to be better than I am, but I was always decent because I played more. But I didn't play bad. Actually, I think I need to take about 4 years off and just play every 4 years. But yeah, I don't play as much golf anymore. It just takes too much time. If they would narrow it down to a 12-hole round total, then I'd be fine with it. But it's hard to go 5 hours or so when you take in consideration warming up a little bit, and especially in this heat, man. It's hard to do it.
So what did you end up shooting?
83, 84, something like that.
Oh, there you go.
And so I played better than I figured I would because I literally haven't picked up a club in 4 years. So last time I played was with Ronnie Brown and Jason Campbell and the Auburn Network crew down at one of my favorite courses down in Sylacauga, Farm Links, and played pretty decent that day. But I just didn't pick up the clubs again throughout COVID, and so I guess I'll go play. It's the birthday of a colleague, and we'll go do that. So yeah, I enjoyed it, but I'm not ready to play any other time soon with this heat, man. I'll tell you, it's tough.
Stan, before we get into what's going on at Auburn and Peyton Thorne being named the starting quarterback, since we have you, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but why did you decide to step aside from being the color analyst for Auburn radio?
Well, I appreciate the question, and it's really pretty simple. It was time to make up for some family time. I've got, you guys know in this business, for 22 straight years, I want to say someone told me 281, 282 some odd Saturdays in the fall. I was, talking to a group of people I didn't know on the radio for about 7 or 8 hours in a given Saturday, and what I was starting to realize that I have now a sophomore in high school. I've got an 8th grader and I've got a 5th grade daughter that, they had never been to a football game with me. They had never experienced a fall Saturday with their dad. And I, talked to my wife a little bit and we just discussed it. And I said, I think it's time. I just need to, while the kids are still young enough to want to hang out with their old man, then I think I need to do this. So it was no pressure by them whatsoever. They assumed I was just going to keep doing it for as long as I could, but I needed to do this. I just wanted to be able to have some memories with them and not look back, when my kids are in college and after that go, man, we never went to a game and experienced tailgating with you, Dad. And so that's the reason. Simple. I love doing it. Still had the fire to do it, and love my broadcast partner and crew. I mean, Andy Burcham and Brad Law and Paul Ellen, who's now back from back on the air pre-game, and of course Ronnie Brown, and just throughout the years I've been so blessed. So I just figured it was time. 22 years, and I'm looking forward. Don't ask me about a depth chart. I can't tell you who's there too deep. But it was just, yeah, it was about that time though.
What a noble reason. By the way, Jason Campbell is going to take your slot, another former Auburn quarterback. And I think it was just announced today that Will Herring is going to do sidelines. So while not Stan White, I think you will be everybody will be very, very satisfied with what they've done. Okay. We see that Peyton Thorne is going to be the starter. Have you seen much of him? And just talk a little bit about Hugh Freeze and his influence on quarterback.
Well, to answer your first question, I've not seen him in person. I've seen video, seen some past film. You know, and it's the guy's been through a lot of games. He's got a lot of experience, and I think that probably is the overriding factor. You know, in bringing in a veteran like that, you know, because it's hard. You can't teach experience. I mean, you just can't. You just got to go live it, and so he brings that to the game, and he's played some big time, you know, college ball. Depending on where you live, you know, Big Ten country, they'll say they're the toughest conference. Of course, we know that is different down in this neck of the woods, that the SEC is there. So I think that will help them. But, you know, I think they've got some options, you know, with maybe some packages with Ashford. And I'll tell you, the Gerner kid, I mean, he always impressed me when he was there. But as far as Hugh Freeze goes, I mean, he's got a track record of being able to put quarterbacks in good positions, and really some names. I don't want to go down all the names he's tutored, but you look at some guys that's kind of come out of nowhere that have been top SEC quarterbacks once they were done with their eligibility at an Ole Miss, and he did the same thing, of course, with Malik Willis at Liberty. So you know, his offensive game planning is very difficult. I think you could ask Coach Saban about that. I mean, you know, Hugh Freeze, probably minus Gus, has had what little success that other coaches have had against Saban. He's had some of the better success. And so I think his innovative offensive philosophies are really good. And so that's, you know, and these days when you know, transfer portal and all that, I mean, you're not waiting 3 and 4 or 5 years to build a squad. I mean, you can do it in 3 or 4 or 5 months, so to speak, and get that chemistry, and hopefully you can get some wins under your belt.
Stan, what would you consider a successful season to be for Auburn?
Oh, wow. You know, it's hard to put a W and L category of a successful season, because, you know, what you want to see is just progress and you know, them going out and continuing to mature and get used to this coaching staff and what they want. You know, you clearly have your big games, and you got, you know, Alabama and Georgia in your friendly confines this year, and at least it's not back-to-back as in previous years. So, you know, but clearly, you know, A&M, Alabama, you know, of course, LSU's top 10 ranked, maybe top 5 in a lot of polls. So, you know, it's still a heck of a schedule you got to go through. I don't like putting a win-loss. So, okay, 7, 8, 10, 9 win, whatever is successful. I just want to see them go out and compete, get better each week, and, you know, let the record fall where it is. You know, clearly I think they have a chance to have a winning record, if not better. And I don't want to undershoot it. I mean, if they, you know, ball bounces their way a few times, you know, they got a chance to compete with a what do they sign, 40 new players, I guess. It's just difficult to tell. I mean, it's just difficult. You know, I mean, yeah, I don't want to go out there and say, hey, look, 7 wins would be a great thing. And well, maybe 9 wins. You know, maybe that may be a great thing. I mean, I just don't know. So just go out and play each one and go out and compete and see where it falls.
It looks like, if my math is even close to being correct, that Auburn's starting offense and starting defense might be composed half of transfer portal players. That's a story in its own right. I don't want to ask that. I'm just setting up to ask Stan White in his playing days at Auburn, did you have transfers? I know you had JUCO, but did you have transfers from one 4-year school to another that you remember that, you know, were significant in their contribution?
You know, it was very rare. We would clearly sign some JUCO players, guys that may have spent 1 year at a prep college or whatever, prep school. But it was rare to have a transfer in that I can remember. Now, I may be wrong, but it was just rare to have a guy that, okay, this guy played at LSU and now he's playing for Auburn. It was just kind of, it was very rare. You know, we've had people transfer out. I remember, I think one that was at Auburn for a brief period, he transferred to Alabama. But it just was not prevalent back then. You know, usually if a guy transferred, it was maybe to a smaller college. but you would sign more junior college players. And we probably sign, I guess it was 3 or 4, maybe a year, 2 or 3 or 4. And I throw in their prep school as well, type of thing where they needed to maybe get their grades up for a year or a couple semesters. But no, the transfer portal was or just the transference in itself was very rare because you had to sit out. I think it was had to sit out a full year from playing. I think that was the rule back then.
I think and within SEC, sometimes you had to sit out 2.
Yeah, and there were restrictions too, I believe. I think there back then, if you signed at, let's just say in Auburn, there may have been restrictions where you could not sign with another SEC West type school. So it eliminated several schools. It clearly is in the favor of the player now, which in a lot of ways that's a positive. But I believe you still need to look at some restrictions on multiple transferring. And I think they're trying to get there or getting to that. Where, I think you have an open window now and because you nowadays more than ever, you have to recruit your own roster to stay with you.
Stan, we've talked a lot this week about Toomer's Corner for a variety of reasons, mainly because sort of open for business again to be rolled. Do you have a favorite memory of Toomer's Corner of, just an experience that you enjoyed with whether it be fans or when you were a player and other students?
What's interesting is I tell people when I was playing, players, we never, and it was just because we were usually getting rehab or getting iced down or getting IVs or whatever. We never went to Toomer's Corner to roll it after games because I was so dead tired. And so, but now I think it's a phenomenal tradition. I love it. I'm glad that they're back able to do that because that is a big tradition for Auburn people. And it'll be huge when they're able to do that, especially if they can pull out a win versus like a Georgia or an Alabama. But yeah, I mean it's a great tradition. I'm glad it's back. It's been a lot of years since those trees obviously were damaged and killed, and so I'm glad that tradition is back, and I'm glad people are able to do that.
It's a great one, and your pregame flying of the Eagle ain't bad either. Stan, thank you. Go play some more golf if you can. Spend time with your children and family, and we'll do this again in a few weeks to just talk about how Auburn's gotten off to a start here.
All right, guys. My pleasure. Anytime. Y'all take care.
All right.
Thank you, Stan.
All right. Stan White with us on Big Noon Sports. It's time to get out of here, Lars.
Have a great
you got
weekend.
Your kids this weekend.
Yep.
Play outside. Lose some weight.
Thanks, man.
Well,
on that note,
on that note, have a great weekend. We'll talk everybody on Monday.